few housekeeping things first. There is Wi-Fi, but we ask you, if you don't password, don't use it because we're trying to stream on the Wi-Fi. The internet, Ethernet connections are not working here. So working? It's working. It's just My name is Jorge R. I'm the co-chair of the steering committee for the Animation Education Forum. I'm substituting really for Chuck Reed, who is our regular chair. I just sort of a hanger-on. And I thought we'd first like to get the business part of the meeting over with. And after all, this is the annual meeting, membership meeting. And the forum is one of the major activities of ASIFA-Hollywood, best known for the Annie Awards. ASIFA uses, not only does the Annie Awards, but also funds major effort in film preservation for animation, usually with the UCLA Film Archive. And more recently, they started working with the educational community to work for, promote animation education and provide a networking forum for educators. And we are involved with several events every year. A year ago, we had another meeting like this, not as well attended, where we had a discussion about politics in the classroom, art, animation, and teachers' responsibility. And at CGRAPH last year, we had what we call Birds of a Feather discussion on can open source software and tools to use effectively in animation. And you can hear the discussion, which is about an hour long, on YouTube. We had another discussion, which is sort of related to what we're going to discuss in the first panel today, at CTN Expo 2017, Beyond Teaching Animation, where we have people discussing, the only reason to go to animation school is to learn how to be an animator, which is not really true. So there are a lot of jobs, in fact, most jobs in the animation industry are not for animators. This is part of what we're going to discuss here today as well. And then we also give out money. I probably get you. And there's two main ways of doing that. One is our student scholarship. And we have people applying from literally around the world who say, I need money to get some equipment so I can finish my student film. Or I'm doing a PhD dissertation and I need to go and visit hospitals and research the history of Mexican animation. I may be thinking that enough. Too far off to read and track. And so most of the funding goes to student productions, but we do usually fund at least one academic effort. And more recently we've added faculty grants, which are open not only to full-time faculty, but to part-time adjunct teachers, which is something which, as someone who used to teach, adjuncts are sort of secondary citizens in the academic world in many ways. So again, the funding is for both production, personal creative projects, as well as academic scholarly projects. And the new avenue of spending our money, so to speak, is we're starting to give, sponsor, taking advantage of sponsorship opportunities in academic conferences. And there's a conference that's happening at USC later this year on women in animation.
You have two mics.
Try turning one off. Try turning one of the mics off.
He's got two mics.
Does he have the lab on?
Testing, 1, 2.
Try turning all three mics off and see. They're all off. Could actually be somebody's cell phone.
Pay no attention behind my back. This is a classic Alan Costello routine that we're doing right
Who's on first?
What's up?
Anyway, we are sponsoring one of the keynote speakers.
I can't stand back. Check your position under the speaker to do that.
Gotta get you on those old-fashioned Hollywood megaphones.
That seems to be coming this way. The rest of the conference with hand signals and puppets.
Anyway, we're giving a grant for the Revealing Animation Conference at USC. We're sponsoring one of the keynote addresses in the conference by Brenda Chapman. And we hope to do more of that sort of work in the future conferences, not only in LA, but elsewhere.
It's called breaking the frame.
Breaking the frame.
Breaking the glass frame.
Breaking the glass frame.
There you go.
Thank you. Anyway, let's. It's paying. I think it may be something out of this room. Anyway, let's start. It's time really for the first panel discussion. And the conference, the discussion is where the jobs are, mapping the expanded universe of animation and performance. You can have our analysts please come up. Let me give a little bit of introduction. During the golden age of animation, where everybody thinks everything was glorious, one old timer once said to me, you only really had, the problem was you only had a few places to go to work. It was the big studios and the major studios in LA and maybe New York. And if you didn't like that, you were mostly out of luck. Today, when I was teaching animation in Georgia, and I do teach animation in Georgia, I would ask my students in animation history what do they want to do when they grow up and get out of school. They all wanted to work for Pixar as animators. The trouble is there aren't that many jobs for animators, even at Pixar. But there are a lot of jobs in the animation industry. Brooke, how big is the membership of the guild?
I'm so glad you're asking me that because I didn't know what you were going to ask. I'm like, I better have numbers. Oh, whoops. Like, I need a microphone. Is it on?
Yes.
On? Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. So, right now, at the Animation Guild, we have 4,200 working tag members. That is up from 2005, there were 2,000. 2014, there were 3,000, so now we're at 4,200.
And that only represents unionized members in the Los Angeles. There are other people up at places like Pixar, in New York, Chicago, Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, London, Madrid, Rio de Janeiro, and a bunch of other places. So the animation universe is quite a bit bigger than it was way back in the golden age of animation. So, and the number and types of jobs that are on offer, so to speak, has been really changed in many ways. We have modelers, cinematographers who now get jobs in animation, not just shooting stop motion, but CG, and it goes on and on and on. Anyway, what I'd like to do is have the panelists introduce themselves for a few minutes.
So busy taking selfies.
And let's start with over here, Jorge Gutiérrez.
I'm Jorge Gutiérrez. You guys might know me from a TV show I created with my wife Sandra Aquila, El Tigre. And then after winning 7 Emmys, the show was horribly canceled by Nickelodeon. So thanks to that, we got to make Book of Life. And then Book of Life, then after that, I got to work on horrible, awful things. That made me realize I only want to work on my own stuff. And now, I don't think they've announced it, but I don't care. I start on Monday, I go to Netflix. I'm going to do a ton of stuff over there. Netflix is union.
But I believe Jorge, and I believe in Jorge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What do you want?
Emmy, Oscar winning.
Hi, I'm Brooke Keesling. I work at the Animation Guild. I've spent many years recruiting for Cartoon Network, Disney TV, and Warner Brothers, and other places. I started in visual effects after going to CalArts with Jorge and Mike. We were students together. And they're telling me to mention my film Booby Girl, which won the student Oscar and student Emmy Award. It's a fictionalized documentary, narrated by June Foray, the late great, and happy to be here.
I'm Tony Bancroft. I am not Tom Bancroft today. I am Tony Bancroft. But for those that don't know, I have a twin brother named Tom Bancroft. We have a podcast, the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. Any listeners in the house? I came up through CalArts, like these guys too. Did you go to CalArts?
We still like
There's always one on the panel.
But you
love you
remember
so much.
some.
No, it's okay. It's all right. You don't have to go to CalArts, right? But I came out of CalArts for many years, worked with famous people like Tom Cito that's back there. Hey, Tom. And Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King. Yes, I animated your childhood. I get that all the time. And I did Pumbaa and Lion King, and I co-directed Mulan for Disney. I've since then gone into doing all kinds of stuff independently, so I'm going to be talking a lot about the independent market. I had my own animation company for 7 years. I've done features. I have a feature that's supposedly coming out. If you've seen Cartoon Network in the last 24 hours, a big article about animal crackers. Cartoon Brew, what did I say?
Brew. That's okay. Cartoon Network.
Oh, Network.
Cartoon
It's not
Brew.
Network. Yeah, Cartoon Brew. On Cartoon Brew, there's a big story about Animal Crackers, the film that I co-directed, and the trouble it's had with distribution, so I can speak to the independent market. And what else? I'm teaching now too. So I'm at Azusa Pacific University as the program director of a brand new animation program in animation and visual effects, and it starts in the fall. We might still have openings. Come on and join.
This is everything in the
This is
USA
Cyclone
from
Dora.
A to Z. Right? Everything in the USA from A to
Is
Z.
that a thing?
That's what that stands for, yeah.
So I'm Ennio Torreson. I did not go to CalArts. I produce shows every year. I love it. Those guys are insane. They make movies like.
Yeah.
We used to take 5 years. It took me 5 years to do my short. 2 years when I made, 5 years to finish it, so 7. So,
Wow.
And I started when I was 20. Had the idea at 20. 22 I started animating. At 28 I finished the short. And I sent to festivals, went to NSC and all that stuff. So I come from shorts, even though I was graduate, I had a degree in fine arts. I thought I was going to be a painter. And I did comic books and I did illustrations to pay for it. So I tried to find a way of getting paid by still being an artist. So I decided, okay, I'm going to teach. So I had to take a course on other things to be a teacher. One of them was animation. And this course I had to go short. By doing the short, I ended up landing a job in animation. Suddenly I won an award to do a short, which is this one that took me 8 years to do, which made me an animator. And then I was working on different shows. I come from Brazil. So in Brazil there was nothing going on there in the 90s. And we had a terrible president that completely took all the money from our bank accounts. And that
Oh, what that's like right
So I ended up going to England, and I worked on a movie that you probably saw when you were a kid, Five Goes West. And I was painting backgrounds then. And then Balto, we were back, and I came here working on Cats on Dance. And then eventually SpongeBob. And what else? Well, DreamWorks. And then after that, DreamWorks for 15 years. So I've been around. Well, I've been head of story now since maybe 10 years ago. Been head of story for 10 years now. Turbo, Cross Baby, and more recently now on Everest, the other Yeti movie.
Sounds small.
So that's it. Thank you.
And Brooke, since you're the union rep, so to speak, and the union, can you talk a little bit about the range of jobs that are out there that you're aware of in the union, and where the growth, what the trends are, as far as you can see?
I I can talk about that from a recruiter's point of view a little bit better than you from the union, because I joined the union, or came to the union in October, so I'm still learning about the way everything is done here. But there's, storyboard artists and revisionists and, writing jobs. There's writers in the union. I don't think people always know that, but sometimes there's a writers guild, so sometimes people are in the writers guild, but for animation, a lot of the animation writers are in this guild. And designers for animation. I mean, it's the whole gamut of all of the people who work on animation. I think the editors are kind of more separate. So we just helped Nickelodeon to unionize their editors. So that was a big step forward for them. So there's so much work right now. I don't know. When we graduated from CalArts, there was not a lot of work. Traditionally, animation has been like up and down and up and down and up and down. And I feel like when I graduated, there wasn't a ton of work in animation the way there is now. There's jobs that didn't even exist now. Like I have some of my students, I also teach at CalArts at night, and some of my students have graduated and gone on to work at Giphy. So we couldn't animate GIFs when we graduated. That wasn't a job we could have done because they didn't exist. You can call it a GIF. I call it a GIF. We can get it done. We can spend all day with that. So I think there's so much work right now, and we're at an all-time high. It's amazing. I think it's really encouraging I'm always telling my students, like, you guys are graduating at such a good time, I ended up working in visual effects and miniature effects for a long time. That wasn't what I had intended to do when I graduated from CalArts. It was awesome, really fun. I got to work on Hugo and Inception and The Dark Knight, doing like big miniatures that ended up getting exploded or crashed. So that was super fun, but it wasn't what I was thinking I was going to do immediately because there just weren't as many jobs then. So it's encouraging. It's a good time right now.
I think it's probably a good idea to keep your eyes open to what's out there, actual work.
Yeah, well, we send out through the guild, we send out job postings, and they go to our members, but they're also posted on our Twitter feed, so you don't have to be a member to see those job postings. And then I'm always telling people to join Women in Animation to see, because they have the best. I think their job postings are just incredible. I mean, they just have so many that they're posting all the time.
They have a great networking organization.
And for students, I think it's only like $40 to $45 for 2 years, and
you don't
for
have to be
professionals, it's like
You don't have to
you
be
can
woman
be
to do
gender fluid, you can be male, you can be whatever you want to be. It's just to support women in animation. So if you're not knowing where jobs are, they send out jobs and internships. And the guild does too. We send out jobs, but I don't think we send out internships. Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that I think is, does this work?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is a magical thing is that if you're a white male, you still will have everything good. But before, if you weren't a white male, it was really hard. Now, studios are consciously making an effort behind the scenes, talking to directors, talking to creators, talking to producers, to really push diversity and inclusion. And so I think we're in a golden era now, where if you, for the first time ever, like I'm consciously, the things I'm working on, I'm going, I want my crew to be 50-50%, gender and gender. And I want at least half the crew to be minorities. So, and before, it was, you couldn't even say that stuff.
Can I just say something about that? So I graduated CalArts with a Student Academy Award and a Student Emmy Award. Was I offered any show or any, no, because they didn't offer shows for women.
There was no women crazy.
I'm not bitter at all. I'm just saying, but I'm just saying that if I graduated now with a film with that kind of success, I'd be covered in offers.
I'm going to answer that.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you're an educator, raise your hand real quick. Are you a teacher, educator? Yeah. And how many of your students are female now? There's been a huge growth, right? I see it across the board. I speak at schools and stuff like that. We just went to the CalArts producer show, many of us.
Yeah.
3/4 of the next generation seems to be female. It's amazing the shift that this industry has seen, and I think it's a bigger shift in the animation industry than any other industry. And I'm not basing that on any statistics, but just from what I'm seeing out there, it's amazing. I'll show you my data. But it's amazing to see what's going on.
No, it's true. I think it's amazing.
It's a different time. It really is, because
Yeah.
when we were going to school, well, I'm probably older than all you guys. So when I was going to school, back in the old days, it was, I mean, we had a class, I was in the freshman class that was like one of the first big ones. It was 45 students. Out of those 45 students, 4 were female.
Yeah.
That's how dismal it was. Well, that's only going to have an effect on the industry, because the industry has to pull from talent pools like that, those schools, those universities. If there's not options of hiring females and minorities, then where are they going to go for that, to find talent? So that has changed dramatically, and it will have a ripple effect now. We're seeing it now on the university level, the schools. We're seeing it right here in this room, but now it's going to have a huge ripple effect as we move into the next 5 years in the animation industry.
And I also think now, if you put your work out there on the internet, and it's good, you put it on Tumblr and Twitter and Instagram, wherever you put it,
Yeah.
people will find you. Like, there is no more excuses. Like, oh, I couldn't afford to make a portfolio, oh, I couldn't afford to shit my portfolio.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now you put it online, and I can tell you guys, I mean, at least the Book of Life, and now on this thing, we go through Tumblr and Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And we go, hey, look at this person, they're really good at this. Because we're in a time now where there's no reason, this is my personal belief, there's no reason to hire someone to do something that they're not already really into. So whatever I'm working on, I'm like, oh, this person loves to do skeletons. Well, I'm doing a thing with skeletons. I'm gonna get the people who already love the thing I'm doing. I'm not gonna grab someone who is okay, and maybe I'm gonna take a chance on them liking the thing. Like, there's no more need for that. There used to be this idea that, oh, your portfolio should be really broad to show sort of the big gamma that they can click through into different things. I don't think that matters anymore. I think if you put the stuff out there that you love to do, and you're constantly making, and someone makes a thing that will have those things, then you can now get a job doing the things you love.
Yeah.
And I think that's different. It's a different era. I used to tell people, don't draw anime. I remember finding myself like, don't draw anime, you'll never get a job in anime. Well, Rebecca Sugar made a show that looks like anime. The Avatar guys, Michael Bryan made a show that looks like anime.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Those guys did the thing they loved, and they were very successful. So now I just tell people, there's no rules. Just do the thing you love, put it out there, get really good at it, and then people will find you.
Yeah, that's what, when Penn Ward was a student, we were at school before him, but he was my high school student at CISA years ago, and I was like, everyone was bugging him at CalArts not to draw the way he draws. Like, I won't name names, some of them aren't even alive anymore, but some of the professors were like, don't draw that way.
I'll show you.
They died of natural causes. But he was just like, he was adamant. He's like, this is my style, I'm gonna do it, and look what happened. I mean, if you don't know, he created Adventure Time. I'm sure you guys know. But yeah. Yeah.
I think that, I went on the panel, a couple of weeks back.
Can you hold the mic up? We can't hear you back
Hear
here.
you. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
I should be standing like this. Right? My lungs exactly my sound.
And I went to a panel maybe a couple of months back, and one of the kids there asked me, what do I do to get into the industry? What kind of drawings do I have to do? And I remember saying, look, with all of the opportunities you have now, and Netflix as well, being one of the biggest powerhouse now in the industry, you can do pretty much anything. You can create anything and sell it. And we are not at that point yet of adult animation being mainstream, but I believe that's going to be the next step. I believe that whatever you see on as Stranger Things, I bet you that in pretty soon it's going to be an animated version of something like that will completely blow people's minds. So we're still starting to discover what this new industry is, what's happening right now. And there's so many people that used to work on the studio I'm working on right now. They're heading other studios as well. So it's mind-boggling, and the opportunity of these new. I'm talking about story as well, because that's what I've been doing for a while. And story it's very hard to get someone to do storyboards and to understand the language of storytelling, and it takes a long time. It takes years, right, to get really good at it and have a voice as well, and become a star. It takes a long time, but with these new opportunities, I bet you that even that language might change as well. You know, we'll start seeing different ways of telling stories, and that's
And I wanted to respond to something that Jorge was saying, which is it is a really fabulous time, I think, because of the diversity that's going on. There's also a really fabulous time in this marketplace that we're in right now, that because of social media, and trust me, I've had this lecture with, or this discussion, an argument with my generation who's not on social media, but for the youth out there that I'm looking at right now, you guys should all be on social media and establishing yourself and creating a brand for yourself. Because that's really what you're doing. I can't tell you how many storyboard artists and character designers have gotten jobs because they created a certain kind of brand for themselves and a popularity online first. And we're all looking online too, just like you guys are, and geeking out on who's hot and who's doing this, and oh wow, this is cool, and I've never seen anybody who's quite this talented, and who are they, and you know, you dig deeper. But this is, I just did a podcast for those that maybe need to tune in, and I'm going to advertise myself now. My last podcast was from a panel at CTN that my brother orchestrated with some real top people on the internet, Pernell Oram and Jake Parker and stuff, and how they got their brands out there. And it was called Branding Yourself as an Art, Branding Your Art. And that's what I really want to put out there to all you guys. If you're not branding yourself and making sure that people understand that you have a unique voice, and that's what's popular now. It's, yeah, you know, I can get a character designer that'll do this or this or this, like Jorge was saying, a generalist. But when you get specific into, this is who I am, this is how I see things, this is how I draw, and really create your own brand and your own vision and put that out there, that's what's attractive these days more than ever before.
I just want to agree with that wholeheartedly. When I was recruiting, I spent hours and hours and hours combing the internet to find what's new and different. I wasn't looking for who was drawing something that looked like they were trying to get a job with whatever studio I was at, as much as I was looking for the next fresh voice. And that doesn't mean that it has to be someone young. It can be someone of any age who's doing something different or something unique that stands out. It's not a youth thing. It's just a voice. It's just following your voice. I'm gonna give you a job.
Like I remember when I was a student, and I would, again, in different time, right? This is like 90. I was in school 94 to 99 or to 2000, and I was told, you keep drawing all this Mexican stuff. I mean, I was literally told, you're drawing all this Mexican stuff and you're not going to get work. You need to show that you can do other things. Meanwhile, because I'm a foreigner and I'm from Mexico, our counselor for jobs, Wilhelmina, was German. Wilhelmina, who was very tough as nails, and she was even tougher on foreign students, because the way it works for foreigners is when you graduate from school, you have to find a job in 1 year. If you don't find a job in 1 year, you get deported. So the motivation for an international student is much different. Yeah. So it's one of those things where when you're told that, literally I would go, if I keep drawing this Mexican stuff, no one's going to sponsor me, I'm going to get deported, and I'm going to be the most talented animator making tacos. But I mean, let's tacos are
Maybe I'll play a local.
Oh, maybe I'll play a local.
Have your barrels and I'll play a local.
And I remember going, no, my teachers must be wrong. So every year they have a portfolio review where you put out your portfolios and the studios come and call you, and it's a big deal to get your name, like, you know, Pixar or Disney or one of the big ones comes to get called in. And I would get super excited because I'm getting called in. And then they would look at my stuff and they would go, this is great. Where's your, like, you know, non-Mexican stuff? Like, is there another portfolio? And I was like, no, this is it. And they're like, well, we don't have any shows that look like this, and we can't take a risk that you might not be able to do the other things. And I would be told, you know, if Scooby-Doo goes to Mexico, what do you would call it? If the Rugrats go to Rio, and I was like, Rio, that doesn't live. And then a producer at Nickelodeon, Larry Huber, who I don't know if he's still working, took me into his office and he's like, close the door. And I think he had gone on a vacation in Mexico, so he was feeling very generous towards Mexicans. He told me all about it, and how good the food was. I was like, yeah, we did just for you.
We know.
And he goes, I love your stuff, but I'm going to give you some advice. I'm not going to hire you. But I'm going to tell you, the only person who's going to hire you to do this type of stuff is you. And I was like, what? And he's like, Jorge, there's no shows that look like this. So you have to pitch your own shows. You have to pitch your own movies. You have to pitch your own stuff. And that way you get to make this. And I thought, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I think of that? And I took what he said to heart. And of course, pitching is really hard. But that's how I got in. It was, I'm not going to get a job doing somebody else's stuff because I made that decision as a student. I said, do I get diverse? Do I get, in a way, good enough to try to compete with other people? Or do I concentrate on my stuff and make it so good that hopefully someone gives me a work visa? And that's exactly what happened. So and then I took what Larry said to heart even more, and I said, I'm going to pitch a show about me not getting a job. So my first internet cartoon was about a baby who gets dropped off in an orphanage here in Los Angeles wearing a wrestling mask, a Mexican wrestling mask. The nuns try to take the mask and he wrestles them. So the nuns are like, fine, keep your stupid mask on. Parents come to try to adopt the children and he never gets adopted because he won't take the mask off. He grows up and fights for the orphanage, right? Real life, that was me. I got dropped off in the US. My culture is my mask. I refused to take it off. No one would hire me. I grew up and now I fight for the next generation. So I literally pitched the show about my experience. And I've been doing that ever since. Everything I make is based on things that are happening. So any advice I can give you guys who are starting to pitch things that are based on who you are and based on your experiences, because that is what makes things unique, and that's what makes them universal. And authentic. We're in an era where, for the first time, it feels like in a long time, sincerity is now a plus. We are passing through the cynical, smarmy era, where making fun of things and hating things was really in vogue. For the first time, it feels in a long time that being authentic and sincere and emotional is the most rebellious thing you can do. And I'll say this, because of the world we're living in now, I think people are looking to entertainment more than ever to get away from reality. So this is a golden era. If you guys are graduating or just graduating, this is a golden era for creation. There are no excuses right now. So you all, after this talk tonight, you better go online and get your stuff together and go to everything you can go to and pitch as much as you can. Pitching, to me, is the lifeblood of creation. And it's like stand-up. All stand-up people, when they start doing stand-up, are terrible. They're horrible. Guess what? They get better because they keep doing it. That's pitching. You guys are going to be horrible when you start, but you're going to get better and better and better. It's just like art. If you do 1,000 drawings. Guess what? Drawing 1,000 will be really good compared to drawing number 1. Now imagine if you do 1,000,000 drawings. Apply that to everything you're doing. The more you do it, the better you get. It doesn't get easier, you just get better.
Does anybody on panel want to talk about the new markets for VR and streaming services like Amazon and Netflix?
That's Jorge.
Oh. Okay, so there's a war coming between Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu. And all the studios right now, well, on Disney and Facebook, I mean, hell, In-N-Out Burgers is going to put out cartoons and so forth. But the big ones are coming. And what's happening now is the old studios and the old TV channels, I think they're all realizing the world is changing. Children, this is all just based on statistics, are not watching TV anymore. That's right. I have an 8-year-old, and anybody who's a parent here will attest to this. Kids go, why would I let that box tell me when to watch things? And why would I watch commercials?
I don't either.
Yeah. So most kids are watching Netflix. That's where the Amazon and Hulu and Hulu Red, all these things are happening. And so because of what's happening, this content war is coming. And before you had to make a show that had to appeal to everybody in the US, because that was the market. Now it's a world market. And now your show can be niche-y, it can be really specific, it can be anime, it can be adult, it can be just for people in northern Florida. And if the budget is small enough and it justifies the views, then it's a hit. So now you can make unique, niche-y, culturally specific things, which is something you weren't allowed to do before. Now you can do things that you go, this is just 10 episodes, and that's it. This is just, I don't know, 5-minute episodes. There's no more air standards, there's no more time standards, there's no more, you have to have a commercial here, and the channel has to approve it, and how does this fit in with the theme park, and how does this fit in with all the other content around? There's no more of that. And that's why the networks are in trouble, and that's why the studios are freaking out. Because the consumer and the viewers are now saying, I want to watch whatever I want, whenever I want, and exactly how I like it. And creators, people like me, go, what am I consuming? Like, I'm not going to the movies anymore. And I'm not watching TV, I'm watching Netflix. I'm watching 10-episode series. I'm watching Stranger Things and Godless and all these shows. And I'm going, there's movies, there's TV shows, and now there's something in between. There's these weird novels that are like movie shows. Animation is going, whoa, 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 whoa. Troll Hunters, the show on Netflix, started out as a movie at DreamWorks. It was adapted because it was too weird too dark as a movie. They adapted it as a TV show for Netflix. And that's the highest rated family show of all time on Netflix. So the thing that was deemed too weird and too dark in one place, all of a sudden is a huge success. So what does Netflix do? What do the streamers do? They go, let's bring people, let's bring new voices, and let's let them do stuff. And if that connects, great. If it doesn't connect, next. And that's different than it used to be.
And I can add to that there's not only, we didn't talk about VR, but obviously Jorge has done an animated short for Google Spotlight Stories, and it was excellent. So VR is new. People are trying to figure out what to do with that, where that's going to go, but it's obviously a device that storytellers, filmmakers are using, animators are using, gamers are using. We haven't even talked about the gaming industry and how animation affects that, but even that aside, there's so many opportunities right now. Jeffrey Katzenberg, who we all know from our Disney days, who used to run animation over there, it's been announced that he started his own company. So he's kind of his act 3 in life. He's just throwing himself wholeheartedly into shorter content videos. I forget the name of his company right now, but I read an article about it just the other day. And he is all on board raising money right now to do little short animated films and series based on what he saw the success of YouTube having. Because YouTube has changed how we view content. Back to what Jorge was saying too. It's a new generation now, so shorter content. And so Jeffrey's thing is, you know, anything under, I don't know, I think it's like 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes and under, that's all he's doing. But he's doing long duration series that he can just put out there in a big way. And he really feels like that's the future. Well, now, that's one future, but there's a lot of other futures. The encouraging thing that you should be hearing up here on this panel, though, is that there's more opportunities now and things that we haven't even discovered yet in the way of consuming product, consuming storytelling. But it still comes down to that. If you're learning anything in school, be a creator that creates stories, engages people through character and story, because that hasn't changed. That's the good news.
You reminded me of Atom Films, because they tried to have this moment when we were graduating. There was this thing called Atom Films, ATOM, Atom Films, pre-YouTube, and the internet machine was still dial-up. It was like, crank up the internet machine. And they came to CalArts students and said, we need short films under 3 minutes to put on this thing called the internet machine. And I'll pay you $500. I made a stop-motion film called Meat Clown that was just under 2 minutes, and they put it on there, and I got a check for $500. I was like, oh my God.
What about Instagram celebrities? You know, you Instagram celebrity. It's just you and the world. It's just mind-boggling. Things are. I have an Instagram account as well, but it's hard to keep up because I have a job to do it, and to do that as well. It's just it's not. It's hard work. It's too hard work. Whatever you do, thank you very much, sir. Whatever you do, it's still hard work. You can talk on the microphone. You gotta know the right technique and to apply well. Yeah, to apply well. Otherwise, it's going to work. So the competition is out there. You know, that's the down thing about the hard work. There's a lot of competition, and I can see with the portfolios that come to our studio.
Well, one of the things to remember also is that even if you don't want to pitch your own show, there are more jobs out there.
Yeah, there are more jobs out there. It can be conservative as well. It can be, anatomically correct, and it doesn't matter how, and I know, there's some realists that are having a blast right now. They have jobs as well, and if you want to do something more like Disney, this is like. And some guys, some people that worked with me decided to go to Disney because they want to go and work on Frozen 2. That's their dream job. And it's totally okay. It used to be looked upon as, oh no, we shouldn't do that. But there's no rule. I think that's the whole thing.
You know what I love now too is when we were in school, you couldn't put anything of like anyone else's IP in your portfolio, and now like fan art is so accepted and is such a part of pop culture now. I love it. I think I was an early recruiter to say, no, that's okay, put that in it, as long as you put your own spin on it. Don't just put in an off-model, fin and jape that like shows me you can't draw them well, but like if you take something and do something clever with the characters, like that never bothered me to see that in the portfolio, because it's still, I would still see your creativity coming through, and I think that's what people who are hiring are always looking for that. It doesn't have to be so far off like the guy who, like Jorge, like you had a very specific vision, and you knew you wanted to draw that world, and so it doesn't have to always be like, you don't always have to have your own world, but drawing your vision of the worlds that you want to be a part of. Yeah.
I think, working in Hollywood is like breaking into a bank. And the way everybody breaks into a bank is different.
There it is, we're done.
So, we can talk about how some of us did it, but it's going to be different for you guys because bank technology has evolved too. But everybody gets jobs eventually, everybody gets in, generations have, like I was terrified when I was a student. Know that it's okay. I was terrified the first time I got fired. I thought it was the end of the world. It's okay. What I think is really important that I learned in school was I got to go for 6 years. So I did my bachelor's and my master's. If it was up to me, I'd still be in school because it was so much fun. But one of the best lessons I learned was I got to see what happened to people when they graduated while I was still in school. So I got to see who the really good students didn't always translate to getting a job or getting a good job or being good in the workforce. And I got to see how people who I didn't think were that good ended up doing really well. And that's when you start learning that it's not just talent, and it's not just how you work, it's how you treat people, it's how you network, it's how social you become, and
How you promote yourself.
how you promote yourself. The biggest lesson I got from that was, if you help others, especially those who can't help you, that will come back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to help someone that you think will help you,
Yeah.
but help those who you know can't help you. That is animation karma. It will come back to you.
So help everyone.
So help everyone.
Yeah.
If you are an
Color each other's
asshole,
films.
if you're an asshole in school, guess what? Guess what happens after? You will have a real hard time getting a job. If you, this is literally what happens. When people graduate, the people who get you work are your friends and
Yep.
people who know you.
Yep.
Eventually, you're going to be in a class with people who become producers and directors and literally everything. Those people, if you were good to them and you helped them, guess what? They're going to get you a job. So work really hard to help each other, because your generation is going to become your lifeblood when you get into the industry. And go to festivals. You know, I would hear people say network. I was like, what the hell does that mean? It literally means go to places where people are showing animation, meet other students, meet recruiters, meet filmmakers, and get your work out there. I mean, don't be annoying about it.
Yeah,
Just,
don't stalk recruiters.
yeah, don't stop
I'm not
recruiters.
saying I have any
But put
experience.
yourself out there. Like, put it in the universe. And when people ask you, what do you want to do? Always have an answer. I want to do storyboards, but I'm happy to start as a storyboard division. If you go, what do you want to do? I want to be a short creator. Let me see your short. Well, I haven't made one. Already you shot yourself in the foot. Good ideas mean nothing. You have to show something.
Oh,
So,
that's so true. Good ideas. Everyone has a good idea.
yeah.
That's a wonderful idea. Wow, I have a great idea for a feature film. So even if you don't do anything about it, and it doesn't happen. So you have to do it. And animation is hard, because you frame by frame. You have to design something crazy. It's crazy.
It's like
You guys
knitting
are
a
crazy.
film.
It's a long time. It's better to be an actor, I guess, right?
No,
We don't.
no, being an actor, you have to be chosen. Being an animator, you get to just make something. No, you don't have to wait, you don't have to audition to be an animator. You can animate your own film.
You see, I'm
You're empowered. No. Being an actor is good for actors. You want to act? Go actors.
I was going to say too, there's going off of what Jorge said about going to festivals and stuff. I'm not Steven Silver, so I'll just say I'm a proponent of CTN Animation Expo, actually.
Yeah.
She doesn't pay for my podcast at all. She's not a sponsor. So, but that's right down the street in Burbank here, you know, and it happens every year in November. I just think, I tell students all the time, go to CTN. You meet so many people there. I get to see these guys because I never see them otherwise, except for on a panel or something like that. So it's fun for me, but also you get to meet other students that are in the same boat as you. You get to show your portfolio to people, professionals in the industry that will give you honest feedback. That's what that's what you're craving right now, right? You want to know, where do I fit? Where do I fit in this big picture of animation? Well, you do have a place that you fit, and sometimes we just need to be encouraged. The cool thing about this panel, these guys are encouragers. And I hope you guys are feeling encouraged today too, that there is a future in animation, and that it is a great time, and that there are unique voices out there, and you guys could be one of them.
I'm going to do my little festival plug would be for one of my favorite festivals, the Ottawa Animation Festival. It is free to enter that festival. I think they're accepting submissions right now, so anyone in this audience or on camera who has made a film, enter your film into Ottawa. So many of the people that I still work with and know are people that I met when I was a student there. Like, I brought my film there in 2000. And people I teach with are people that I met there. It's like, just get your network going. One thing that I like about Ottawa, not to compare Ottawa to CTN, but one thing that's a little bit easier at Ottawa than at CTN is all of the development execs and recruiters go there from the studios. And every night after the whatever screenings happen, there's a party every single night after the screenings, and all the execs are at those parties, whereas at CTN, like, sometimes they're like, oh, well, I'm in LA, so I'm gonna go home because I live here. But in Ottawa, they're kind of a captive place. So you can just, like, have a beer with, you know, Curtis from Cartoon Network or whatever it is. So, Curdy, he loves that. So, it's the biggest animation festival in North America, so that, I mean, I know obviously it's expensive to go to Canada, like it's farther, it's on the East Coast, but I think it's really worth it. If you get your film into that festival or any festival, try to go to it and, do a Kickstarter to raise funds for you to get there or whatever if you don't have the money to. I sold t-shirts, that's how I did it. I sold Booby Girl t-shirts. I traveled around the world. I'm going to make you a Booby Girl t-shirt. That's how I traveled to film festivals. So, get crafty if you don't have the money.
Yeah,
volunteering too, yeah, volunteering is great.
Harvey, that's quick.
Yeah, we're just like.
Wait, last thing. The other advice I give, and we did this a lot, was get into production. If you can't get in on the art side, get on the production side. As a PA, as an intern, just get in there. And you will see how the machine works, how everything works, and then it's a lot easier to literally go, hey, storyboard artist, art director, production designer, whatever it is, hey, I'm an artist too. Just look at my work.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in everywhere I've worked that started in production and ended up making the jump into the art, either as artists or editors, even writers. As a script coordinator, usually those are baby writers. So
baby writer.
yeah, getting in there is a big deal.
Yeah.
And then if you are a minority, and if you are a woman right now, everybody's dying to get their productions diverse.
Yeah.
So take advantage of this magical time.
Yeah.
White guys, you guys had a good run.
I think it's time to sort of open up the floor to questions. Please stand up so we can.
Would you guys talk a little bit more practically about where the jobs are? If you want to talk specific studios, that would be great. So-and-so is hiring, but that's not exactly what I mean. I also mean, what's it like to apply at the different studios? Like, how hard is one compared to getting into another one? And what are the specific studios looking for?
Yeah. You want to go again first? What I did was I would do research with what shows were greenlit. I would look up what, they make announcements, and all the Entertainment Weekly type of things with Animation World Network and Animation Magazine. And you go, okay, which creators are getting their shows greenlit? That creator came from this show as a board artist. Oh, I like to draw that style, and I like to do things that are in tune with that. I'm going to apply at that studio to try to get on that show. Like, you just have to do the homework. Oh, I don't know, Brad Bird is doing The Incredibles too. I want to run The Incredibles. Okay, I'm going to get my portfolio. Like, you literally do the research so that you can go to the place to do the thing that they're making. I think if you just apply to a studio and you say, I want to be a board artist, it's a lot harder than to say, I love Trolls. I want to work on Trolls 2. Here's my portfolio, and I really want to work on Trolls 2. You already made it more specific, and in a weird way, the arrow has been set to the thing you want to make. I also think the other way to do it is you look at your friends are getting laid off, or other people are getting laid off, and where they're jumping to, because that's what I did too.
Right now, there's
There's
It's
a lot of
place
those.
where people are jumping to. and
So, for example,
jumping
Netflix is opening a new animation thing. So everybody's going to apply there, and it's going to be a free-for-all. Lots of big creators are going over there. So this is a really good time to get your stuff out there. And I do think when you are applying, you should be very careful with what you present to each place. And that also applies to when you pitch. If you are pitching a show to Nickelodeon, do not pitch an underwater show, right? Because it's SpongeBob. If you are pitching to Cartoon Network, don't pitch a show that is similar to something they already have. You have to be smart about those things, because the moment you do that, you look like an idiot. And if you don't know what's in development that has been announced, that's on you. It's not on the person who's reviewing the work. So if you can do the homework and you don't show prepared and you don't see what's happening, then you're already shooting yourself on the foot. I know it's downer advice, but this is super important.
No, that's not nice advice, that's real.
What makes things easier? Well, if you find a show that your work is more inclined to be like, you know, so it usually that's how it goes. Who do we need right now? You know, in terms of practicality, what happens is, okay, these shows are going to start soon. We need people that can fit these shows. They haven't been announced yet. No one knows about them. We know them. We know which shows are going to come next and how many people we need for those specific shows and what kind of talent we need for those specific shows. If we don't have any talent in-house that can, because they're taken already, we need to find those talents. So in another way, you should apply, you know, you should be sincere with your work and like just like you're saying, but don't shy away from risking as well. You know, just go and risk, because you might be the perfect person right at that moment. Everything's about timing as well. Timing is so essential. Luck, timing, who you know and who you call, and even pitching a show. Last year, Kenji Ono, fantastic story artist, he pitched a specific show to DreamWorks, and they said, no, thank you. And this year, another fantastic artist pitched kind of very similar show, and he got signed up. They bought that show because it was a completely different time, you know, and timing was favoring that guy. And Kenji got a little sad because he didn't sell. Oh, they're never gonna buy it. It took a year. He was too early.
Yeah.
He was there too early. So don't feel bad if you don't get picked, or if you don't sell your show this day or that day. It will eventually, you know, the waves will come to you eventually. So don't stop. Don't feel bad. You know, rejection is okay.
I want to say something about the recruiting part of it, because I did that for so long. When I was a recruiter, I always wanted to be not a gatekeeper, but a gate opener. I always wanted to be so helpful to the artists. And I always felt like my job was to sell the artists who were applying to our website, or that I was meeting out in the field or at events or whatever, up to the showrunners. But really, I've had very little power, so know that about recruiters. I don't mean it as any put down, it's just they're doing their best to like cull through all of the talent and all the portfolios and get those names and those artists to the people who make the decisions. But ultimately, the people who make the decisions, you can show them 10 incredible artists who could do the job, but if they have a friend that they went to school with, or if they know that someone's coming off of a show at another place, they're probably going to pick that person, and just try not to take those things personally, because it's all the things you were saying. It's luck, it's timing, there's so many things.
I feel like I want to do a little mini podcast on your behalf here and get really specific with Ennio, who represents the studio right now that's probably hiring. And Ennio has a bunch of experience with storyboarders and hiring storyboard artists. My first question, Mr. Ennio.
Yes, sir.
I have a storyboard portfolio, and I would love to get a job at DreamWorks. What's the very first thing that I must do? Is there a porthole, or how do I get my work so it can be seen?
You have to call Angela Lupito, or you email her, or bombard her.
How do I find Angela?
Angela.Lupito@dreamworks.com.
Yeah.
It's right there, and she's gonna kill me. Don't tell her I told you that. Are you guys still filming it? Is that?
But you still something? They're filming.
Oh, yeah, we're filming.
Oh, they're filming. No, I'm just joking. It's Angela dot
Lipito. That's a sweet way.
Lipito. Yeah. You know, DreamWorks.com.
Right.
So, we're always looking for story artists, always. And sometimes we can hire them, and sometimes we cannot. We don't have the show or the budget. But we're always looking at story artists. We always go to the producer shows. I'm always there, and always telling her, look, this guy's excellent, this guy's incredible, this guy might be good for this show that's going to be picked up in 2 years. But he's in first year, so we're going to wait for him. Yeah, but be careful because Blue Sky might get them before we do. Yeah, and now there's Netflix we got to fight with, because it's a war, a little war that happens behind the scenes every time that we there's a producer show from Colors and other shows as well. We're always fighting for these people, always fighting for the best. So the best are always taken immediately.
I always tell them that they're like a little French fry laying on the beach and there's seagulls. Just
All right, so Ennio, question number 2 for Ennio. I'm a storyboard artist, and I've gotten a hold of Angela Lupito. That's great. What do I put in my portfolio that's going to be impressive to you or somebody at DreamWorks?
Something personal, something that you do that's your own work, and it shows the potential of a story artist. If you have a potential for a story artist, you might get a job as an intern. If you're a professional story artist, you might get a job as a story artist, or either on TV or on the feature unit, the feature side. Last year, it was a very rocky time for the studio. We weren't hiring much. We tried to hire people, and a lot of our artists were going away to other shows, other studios. And now we have to board. We have half as many, and we have to do twice as much. So it's been really hard. I've been boarding 3 sequences every three weeks for the show. It's been really hard because we don't have enough people. So we're starving for excellent people. And but the thing, the downer is that there's less time for training. So, and then you've got to be a rock star. And some of these shows are already going full force. But there are shows that are going to start, and we'll have time for training. So it's all about timing as well. You know, I'm in the trenches fighting, you know, to make those movies, and it's usually when we have a story trainee, we did have a story trainee program which takes you 3 months to be trained with one of us. One of ours has a story, and after 3 months, we know who you are, what you can do, and which shows you can fit. Suddenly, they cancel 3 shows. Where do you go? And Disney takes you away from us, and we never see you again.
How do we get into the story training? Is that sort of training program still going?
No, it's it might open up. I think you guys all have access to that information somehow. You know,
Yeah.
it's up there, right? People know, and because we get 500 portfolios, the submission in a month. 500 portfolios come to us from all over the planet, and we have to, you know, nail out 50, and then we send tests for training. And it's insane the amount of, you know, the competition that's going on. And then eventually 6 get selected. And all these other amazing artists that didn't get selected, they will have a chance to go to other shows at other studios as well. We saw that happen. And sometimes we train artists, and they go to other studios, and they do so well over there. And we lost those people who trained so hard.
Come on, that money and do it.
But it's okay. I would say, they always ask me, so shall we stop doing it? No, let's keep doing it, because they're going to go there, they're going to get that, they're going to come back. And I might go there, I don't know. You know, so like I said, let's help everyone, because we're all going to be, you know, our own possible. We'll, that's how.
It's a small little incentive.
Yeah, it's
Is there another question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I had a question in regards to the independent market. If you just want to go totally indie, can you speak to the funding or the distribution? I've always been envious about how Canada and other European countries are able to, you know, connect with their film commissions and get some funding and support and, you know, some.
It'd be nice if we had that out here.
It would be great, but I don't know if there's any foundations or, you know, grant funders or something that has something similar that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start out, I'm sure Jorge has some stuff too, but you know, I've been independent now probably since I left Disney in 2000. I've had my own animation company, but then I've also been an independent director and producer. Animal Crackers is an example of that. What I have found is that there's no go-to portal, unfortunately. It's not like going to a studio and going, I got this great little animated film and, you know, fund it for me, please. And I'll just fill out this application and you'll either like it or not. It's kind of, it is really just like trying to search for, you know, an endangered species or something like that. It can be very difficult to get a hold of. I found over the years that through developing, it always goes back to one thing. I mean, let's face it always goes back to making connections, and making relationships. And those lead to other relationships, but leads to other relationships. And so getting yourself out there, being known is key. Developing those relationships, very key. The third thing is exploring. I like to explore different territories in my career. I don't just stay within Burbank, California and CTN and stuff like that. I branched out to different territories, literally different countries. And actually, I'm involved with 3 projects right now. All 3 of them have funding from China. So China has become a big deal on my radar right now. I directed Mulan. Obviously, I have a connection there too. There's, I think they like me out in China. I don't know. I mean, here everybody hates me, but I'm like the David Hasselhoff of China. Anyway.
We like you in Burbank.
But yeah, I've tried to really find what are the sources of capital. Now there's huge difficulties with getting money out of China, and that's a panel in itself. But I have found other opportunities because I've been willing to go out and make relationships in different ways, in different territories, different groups, different resources, and that comes from just pounding the pavement sometimes. Or, like I said, having that relationship that opens a new door in a new direction. That's how I got to know China so well. In the last 2 years, I've been to China 5 times, and I see more in my future. Like I said, I'm the David Hasselhoff of China. That's
Well, you know, for me,
Jorge Gutiérrez in Mexico.
Well, I worked at a lot of studios for a while, and then I said, fuck the studios, I want to go indie. And you guys seen The Road Warrior? Remember the cool people who live with like the fancy hair and the white clothing, and how Mad Max was on the Outlands all the time, like drinking his own pee and stuff? That's what it felt like. It was really tough. What I found with funding for the independents was for every dollar they spend, they want 3 back. So whatever you're making has to be just as commercial in a weird way as what the big studios are doing, but you have less resources. So just to give you an example, Book of Life was $50 million, right? A big Disney DreamWorks movie is at least 100, if not 200 million dollars. The audience is expecting it to look like that. No audience goes, that looks pretty good for $50 million. So you have the expectations of a $100 or $150 million movie, but the limitations of a $50 million budget. And so, and this is for independent feature stuff, it's really tough. And so the way the market works right now, especially with the behemoths of film, these movies are so big. Getting an indie out there into the marketplace, I mean, you just went through crazy stuff with Animal Crackers. For feature, I feel like either go to Netflix, go to Amazon, go to any of the smaller places, but theatrical is not working.
Yeah.
For independent voices who want to continue to make independent films, if you can figure out how to get sponsorship, like go to tequila companies, or like go to all these other places that are willing to fund movies,
Yeah.
which seems to be happening right now.
Yeah.
And then distribution is online. So you can do, Don Hertzfeldt style, where people pay to watch your short. So,
Or Bill Clinton.
or Bill Clinton, yeah.
Fans.
So it's one of those things now where I feel like it's a golden era for independent animation too, but people have to be just as savvy on the business side. The days of just being an artist and not worrying about the business are done. You have to be able to control that stuff. You have to be able to navigate those two worlds. Unless you are with a producer who is going to be so good at getting you all those things and you don't have to worry about it. But most of us have to grow that part of our brain because we don't learn that stuff in school. You easily, like Mad Max, you learn it in the Outlands. You're drinking your own, you can do margaritas out of your own urine.
Hi, I was wondering about getting old in the animation industry because like I just finished my thesis and like my body hurts so much that I told my mentor like I don't know how sustainable it is to be an animator when you're 60 or
You're breaking down.
I just was reading this last night on Facebook. Lori Damiano, who used to run CISA, she posted an article by a doctor who was it was this thing about that, like how to take care of your body. So you're, just sitting is the new smoking, they say. Like sitting 1 million hours a week is as bad for you as smoking. So, but I wish I remember the doctor's name, but I don't. But there are articles about it, like what to do. I thought you were going to talk about ageism, so that's different. You're talking about just like the actual physical age.
Exploit younger people.
Stand up and walk around.
Don't do
Market
yourself
yourself
for
towards
God's
doing
sake.
like being an director or an art director or
Well, that's where I thought you were going with this
Yeah.
too, which is good, because, and to me, that is the question, that's the root of the question, is how do I adapt and grow in this industry and keep moving forward so that I'm not an in-the-trenches, day-to-day storyboard artist, which can be exhausting, and tends to be better done by people younger than all of us, although Ennio...
Little disagree with that. 100% disagree with that. I only do storyboards like a maniac. I'm also head of story, and I do as much storyboarding as my story artist. And I also do my job on the side, and I have the Instagram thing I'm kind of neglecting a little bit. But I also storyboard my own personal thing. Yeah, like I said, animation is like insanity. You have a friend of mine that's a little weirder, and as an animator or someone that likes animation, you are. I can see the difference between everyone that's in this room here and the rest of the planet.
You are a head of story now, so you have moved into a higher position.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything. I still have to board like a maniac. So I board the opening of the movie, the ending of the movie, the middle of the movie, and I have to, supervise the other guys who are doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
And but you just gotta find your way. You gotta find a way to do it, and you gotta love it. First of all, you gotta love it and not try to hurt yourself. I suffer from a condition called the Dupuytren's contracture. I don't know if you know that. Anyone knows that? No, it's a hand thing.
Oh, okay.
That contracts your hand,
Oh, yeah.
and then you're not able to open it. So I have to operate my hands once in a while. And I have 2 operations on my right hand, 2 on my left hand, and hopefully won't come back, but eventually comes back by 5 years. So I have to deal with that on top of it. And it's
That's a good example.
Surgery.
It's nothing to do with animation. It's something totally genetic that I inherited.
But there are people who've been storyboard artists and art directors and background painters, like they've stayed in their niche for years and years, and they're happy there. So it's, everyone's different. There's not like a one answer for that.
And also, most people, you work your way up, right? Like if you study your favorite show creators, your favorite directors, do the homework, backwards engineer, and go, Rapper, Disney, then Family Dog, then Simpsons, then you see the paths. No one comes out of the belly and they're like, you're a director. That doesn't happen. And so if you look at all the disciplines, they're like, well, I want to be a director. Okay, well, most directors now come from story. So story trainee, storyboard artist, story lead, head of story, co-director, director.
Right.
I want to be a production designer. All right. More than likely start doing props. Then you work to background artist. Then you can work your way to art director. Then production designer. Same thing. Want to be a writer, script coordinator. Yeah, it's a path.
Yeah, it's a path, and you have to be patient.
Well, and you have to look at the big picture.
You have to see yourself 10 years ahead.
So, for example, for me, I wanted to be, I didn't want to be a director. I wanted to make my own stuff. And so it wasn't about the position, it was about the thing. When I figured out, oh, in order for me to make my thing, I have to become the director, then I did it backwards. And then when I realized, oh, in order to have my own show, I should work on other people's show and learn how to do it. So I would work on other people's shows, learn as much as I could, talk to all the veterans, get all the, and by the way, all the veterans are happy to tell you all their stories, right? Build ladders out of the bones of their dead children, right? Like, learn from other people's mistakes.
Bring your own rock for Jorge.
Yeah.
Mr. Torreson, are you ambidextrous?
Me? I have a twin, is that what you mean? Because I have him next to me. So
Right, okay, I got the wrong name. Yes.
Well, I sculpt with my left hand, I don't know why, and I draw my right hand. I feel comfortable sculpting, because I sculpt as well. I don't know why, but that's the only thing I do with my left hand. No, I'm not. Maybe Andy, sculptor.
And we connected. Music memory.
Yeah,
right.
What about shorter formats and like branded entertainment and what Jeffrey Katzenberg is doing? What about, how do you break into something shorter?
I mean, I haven't done that myself, so maybe Jorge, who has done some shorts in VR, can answer that a little bit more. But I do know that, like we talked about, YouTube is huge. I mean, and YouTube are where there's a lot of eyeballs. The audience is there already, and that is designed for short subjects, short content. So getting a YouTube channel and just starting to put stuff out, becoming fun, and just doing stuff in Flash or After Effects or something that's kind of easy and simple to paint, lots of holds or whatever. You don't have to do it, Disney style or anything like that. Get your ideas out there and just create a little show that's a series and with your friends or something. You'd be amazed at how that could grow if it's a great idea.
Okay, for me, so when I graduated CalArts, I did this 8-minute student short. Spent 3 years working on it. CG, it's basically where Book of Life came from. And it was super sad. It was a kid who, his dad was a bullfighter and he got hurt and couldn't bullfight anymore. So he goes out in the middle of the night, bullfights and gets killed. So the short won us an Emmy. It opened a lot of doors, but every TV place I would show the short and they're like, this is super depressing. You kill a kid in your short, it's really sad. And then when I would go to the studios and show it, they would go like, we can't make movies like this. This is ridiculous. And at that time I got signed by a manager who I'm still with, and he said, write a movie about the short because we can't make money from the short, and you can maybe sell a movie from it. So I went and I bought how to write a screenplay book, and I wrote a 40-page version of Book of Life, and I pitched it at every studio in town, including Disney, DreamWorks, Paramount, everything. And they all said, 1, you're just some dumb kid out of school. 2, no one wants to see a movie about dead Mexicans. And 3, how do we know? Well, yeah, how do we know that you're funny? Right? And so I went home, and after spending 3 years working on the CG short, I got a pirate version of Flash, and I spent 2 weeks learning Flash. And I made a 2-minute Flash cartoon called El Macho versus the Mariachis of Doom. It's a comic. And I put it online. Back then there was a website called Icebox where anybody could submit their shorts. I put it up there. It got 20,000 views in one night. A month later, I was at Sony Pictures selling the show to Sony. So me saying I can do it means nothing. Me physically making it, putting it out there, people reacting to it, that moved the needle.
Yeah, that's the difference between and just talking about it.
Right.
And that's who you're competing against. You're competing against people that will not actually do it. And we'll talk about it, but will not do it. It takes so much energy and courage and time to do it. And I don't know what, insanity, because you don't know what's going to happen.
But you guys have the power of
you're so hungry about it. And
But you know what's gonna happen if you don't do it.
exactly. And you will regret if you don't do it.
Could you just talk about writing scripts, maybe especially for television, because it seems to need so much more than feature films that pretty much has one script or one film. Is it similar to breaking in with storyboards and with animation? Is there a similar process as far as script writing?
A lot of the shows that were being done where I was working were board driven, so they were done with more outlines than with full scripts. So there were writers there, but they would do an outline and then the storyboard artist would take that and flesh it out. But then there are script driven shows. Is there a show?
Yeah, feature is because legally they have to buy a script or pay writers to write a script. They can't, board artists cannot write it. And even though we do, we take the script, completely change it, and keep adding to it, and we don't respect scripts. And the writers know it, and they come back and rewrite everything we boarded. And then they add more ideas. And
they take the credit.
Yeah, it's okay. But
I piss off some people when I say this, but to me, directing and creating starts on the script. And so I write all my stuff, and I start with a script. And I'm describing the things, I'm describing the moments, I'm describing the characters, I'm describing the environment. To me, it's essential. So when I hear people who don't write, I'm always baffled. Like, how can you not write? And writing is just as hard as drawing, right? But we do it every day.
Yeah.
Right? You write emails, you write Facebook posts. It's the same thing. When you tell someone a story, you can do it with drawings, you can do it with words. You are telling a story. Story is story is story. So the only way to get good at writing is just like drawing. You do it a ton. When I started, I was told, artists aren't writers, right? Hollywood's really good at putting these people in boxes. If you do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Wait, you're a character designer? How can you have written 3 episodes of all these other shows? How did that happen? And that's like, in any other profession, you would be like, well, I can drive a car and I can fly a plane. Like,
Yeah.
why would that be a different thing?
Right.
So the only way to do it is to do it, right? So what happened to me on El Tigre, I had a board artist. There's an unspoken war between board artists and writers, especially in television. But it sounds like features is just as bad. And so what we ended up doing was we would pair up the board artist with a writer. And we forced them. It was like Israeli and Palestinians living together. And it worked. Some of them wanted to murder each other, but ultimately it worked really well. The scripts became more visual, the boards had better dialogue, better moments, character-driven comedy as opposed to just written comedy. And it was very, very interesting thing. When we started doing Book of Life, same thing. The script, I wrote it with my head writer from El Tigre, and we would have punch-ups. We would get all the board artists together to help rewrite the script, to help it get it better. So to me, it was, the script can't exist by itself. It's going to become visual. At the end of the day, the movie is the movie. But the process to make the movie is so flawed, so contradictory in its steps. How do we meld it? How do we make it more unique? And it worked really well. But one of the first things, I hate to name drop him, but when I met Guillermo del Toro, when I pitched the Book of Life, he said, before I commit to producing your movie, I'm going to ask you one question. Did you write the script? Because, these are words from Guillermo, if you didn't write the script, you're not a real director. So I was like, I called her up the script, I ran to my car, and we got to a wedding, and I had the script. And at this wedding, they gave you tequila bottles as thank you presents. And the tequila bottle broke, so my script was drenched in tequila. So I grabbed for sure it was my script. So I'm running with this, it looked like used toilet paper, and I'm blowing on it. And I hand it to him in his beautiful meaty hands, and he holds up the script, and he smelled it. He went, and he said, "This is a good script."
I was wondering, Jorge mentioned before, was talking about having an agent or a rep. And I was wondering if you could touch on that, because reps and agents are very mysterious things. Some people have them, some people don't. I had reps over the years, and I never did a damn thing for me. But some people got
I
it.
can talk a little bit about that. From the recruiting point of view, I talk to reps and agents a lot to find out who they were representing, and you know, if they had someone who was pitching, a lot of the times the studios would say, well, we want that person to work on one of our shows before we're going to pick up their show. So I would try to get their people in as, you know, storyboard revisionists or storyboard artists or storyboard supervisors. So it's a bona fide thing. It's good to have an agent or a manager if that's what you need. If you want to be a storyboard artist your whole life, you probably won't need a manager or an agent, because they usually want people who want to be like a Jorge, or, you know, like someone who wants to sell their own show. That's who they tend to want to represent. But there's the Gotham group, there's Bradford Bricken of the Cartel, Aaron Berger. There's quite a few reps in town, but it's a little bit, don't call us, we'll call you. But having your stuff out there is a good thing, like having your film and, you know, in a USC screening, end of the year screening, they'll go to those kinds of things, or the producer's show at CalArts, like film festivals. They do pay attention to those kinds of things because they always want to find the new hot talent or the person who doesn't have representation that they think, you know, that they can get a deal for and obviously make money off of in the future.
I mean, like you, Tom, I've never had a manager or a rep, and I've always detested that idea of selling. I did have an entertainment attorney for many years, and that's kind of a popular go-to thing for animators and directors. Entertainment attorneys will work sometimes like an agent. They really aren't one, but they'll pretend to be and, you know, call you from time to time. Hey, I heard about this thing, and maybe you want to, we put your name out for it, and DreamWorks came to me, want to talk about this, we put your name out for it. You know, but it's really all because they take a percentage of whatever job that they give you. And I've had entertainment attorneys that just melt me horribly, and just like, you know, we want 20% of everything they make in the next 7 years, over the next 7 years, because they negotiated one job for me. And I'm like, and bonuses, everything. I mean, they got everything, 20%. And I could not justify that to my wife and kids after a while, so I went away from that dynamic. Maybe, I'm sure Jorge is obviously working for you. He's Mr. El Pollo Loco. So, let's hear from Mr. El Pollo Loco about this.
So I got a manager out of school, and he said, I'm going to take 10% of whatever you make. And I was like, well, I make 0, so that's great. And he sat me down, and he said, what do you want to do with your life? I said, well, I want to have a TV show, and I want to direct a movie one day. I want to have a TV show called Peppa the Bull, which ended up not happening at Disney, but that became El Tigre, and then Book of Life happened. So what I asked him I wanted to do, he followed through. He has never, to this day, gotten me a job. Never. But he negotiates my deals. This is the best 10% I've ever spent in my life. By the way, that 10% is tax deductible. So it ends up working out. When I finished Book of Life, I got courted by all the big live action agencies. And I ended up going with William Morris Endeavor. So now I give 10% to my manager and 10% to them. And same thing, they did not get me my job, but they got me a crazy deal once I had the job.
That's what you get.
You're right.
So if a studio goes, how much, you know, I'm just going to make up numbers. How much do you want to make? And I'm like, well, I want to make 10 goats. My agents would be like, Jorge would like 500,000 goats. I would have them, yeah. So they obviously it's different for everybody, but to me, it's worked really well. It's been an investment, but it's also been a way for me to find out how much money other people make.
Yeah, they know all of that.
Because they know all that
Did I
stuff.
say, there was a show creator, I'm not gonna say from what studio, they did not get an agent or manager, they had a hometown lawyer who has no experience in entertainment, did their deal for them, and it was a joke. So, you know, if you have that kind of deal, you want a good entertainment lawyer.
Somebody
Have one more quick question.
I'm the mother of the artists.
Can you speak and say that?
I'm the mother of the artists, and I'm wondering about copyrighting their stuff before, do I have to do that before sending it out there on the internet, or is that an issue or not an issue?
You can spend $20 and put it on the Writers Guild, just to date it as a thing. But there's so many people pitching, there's so many projects going on. You can't worry about that stuff. And it's impossible. It's impossible.
And unless it's so similar, even the name is equal, everything is so similar. It's clearly a ripoff. And yeah, you have a case. But you know, there are exceptions. And like I said, like you know, a little back here, a friend of mine was to pitch a show to DreamWorks, and that didn't get picked up. Another one, a year later, pitched kind of the same show, very similar, but they didn't know each other. You know, the ideas they happen. They're very similar. Two ideas that I had that I pitched were produced by another studio like 6 months later, and you can't take that personal. You know, people will be thinking about that same idea right now, and will be pitching before you, or you should pitch before them. It's weird how it goes. In fact, we have something very similar. I have a short that I created. It's called El Macho.
Really?
Yes! You took it from
It's gonna turn into Battle Royale.
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
Really?
I've never heard of it. And it was created in '94. But it came quite out. It was created in '87.
copyrighted it.
And I'm going to ask you about the shorts. They represent Brazil, and they selected 30 shorts of Brazilian animation, and mine was selected. I was so honored by that.
Was that Mexican wrestler too?
No, it wasn't a Mexican wrestler. It was a short little adulterous husband, jealous of his adulterous wife. He hires a detective. That's a name. Well, you see, and you can't get mad at these things. The world is just like you have 9 ideas.
Yeah.
There's only 9 stories in the planet.
It's more important to get the word out there. So it's better for an artist just to show their stuff. That's more valuable than worrying about holding it tight and not, you know, hiding it away.
Plus themes emerged, you know, it was like ants in a bug's life, and then it was penguins,
Coco.
everything, and then it was I mean, themes just emerge, and there's just something, you know, in the air.
Yeah, I'm working on the second the Yeti movie. There's a small foot, I'm doing the big foot. So.
Yes, exactly.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this panel. For a long time. Before we take a break, I would like to remind anybody who hasn't signed in, please sign it at the door. And we're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break.
There's coffee, apples, help yourself, and good, and all kinds of bakeries or these kind of snacks.
It's all free.